Welcome to Behind the Veil. Today we have a great video for you. I'll provide a detailed analysis of Pedro Alonso López, known as the Monster of the Andes, integrating both the evidential and psychological dimensions of his case. This account draws on the available data, critically examining the timeline, forensic evidence, psychological profile, and societal implications of his crimes, while maintaining a grounded perspective on the information provided. Hi guys, please subscribe to the channel and comment below. Write monster in the comments section and help us grow. Thank you so much for your help. Enjoy the video. Background and early life. Pedro Alonso López was born on October 8, 1948 in Venadillo, Tolima, Colombia, the seventh of 13 children. His early life was marked by extreme adversity, which likely shaped his later psychological pathology. His mother, Benilda López de Castañeda, was a sex worker, and López grew up in a one-room home where he was exposed to her activities, separated only by a curtain. His father, Megdardo Reyes, was killed during La Violencia, a period of civil unrest in Colombia 6 months before López's birth. López reported physical abuse from his mother and was expelled from home at age 8 after attempting to molest his younger sister. This rejection set the stage for a life of homelessness and further trauma. By age 12, López was living on the streets of Bogotá, surviving through begging and petty theft. He experienced multiple instances of sexual abuse, first by a man who abducted him and later by a teacher at an orphanage where he was briefly enrolled. At 18, he was imprisoned for auto theft, serving a 7-year sentence during which he was gang-raped by 3 inmates. In retaliation, López killed 3 of his assailants, an act that extended his sentence by 2 years but was deemed partially self-defense by authorities. These early experiences of abuse, abandonment, and violence are critical to understanding his psychological development, as they likely contributed to his later sociopathic and predatory behavior. Criminal activities, 1969 to 1980. López's killing spree began after his release from prison in 1978, spanning Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador. He targeted young girls, typically aged 8 to 12, often from impoverished or indigenous communities, exploiting their vulnerability. His modus operandi involved luring victims with small gifts or promises, abducting them to remote areas, sexually assaulting them, and strangulating them at dawn to see the light go out of their eyes. López confessed to killing approximately 100 girls in Peru, 100 in Colombia, and 110 in Ecuador, totaling over 300 victims, though only 110 murders were confirmed. He disturbingly described returning to graves for tea parties with the exhumed bodies, referring to his victims as muñequitas, little dolls, indicating a profound detachment from their humanity. Forensic evidence played a pivotal role in his capture. In April 1980, flash floods near Ambato, Ecuador, unearthed the remains of several missing girls, prompting renewed investigations. López was apprehended on March 9, 1980, after attempting to abduct 12-year-old Marie Poveda in a marketplace. Her mother, Carlina Ramon, raised the alarm, leading to his capture by local merchants. Initially silent, López confessed to an undercover investigator, Pastor Cordova, posing as a cellmate. He led authorities to 53 shallow graves in Ecuador, with a total of 74 bodies recovered, all showing signs of sexual assault and strangulation. The forensic confirmation of these remains, coupled with his detailed confessions, substantiated 110 murders in Ecuador alone. The lack of inter-country cooperation and poor record-keeping in the 1970s allowed López to evade detection for years, as many disappearances were initially attributed to human trafficking or runaways. As a forensic psychologist, I would diagnose López with antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, with psychopathic features, consistent with his official diagnosis as a sociopath in 1981, revealing the depths of his troubled mind. His behavior exhibits classic hallmarks of psychopathy: lack of empathy, manipulative tendencies, and a grandiose sense of self, as evidenced by his boastful confessions and self-description as the man of the century. His traumatic childhood, marked by sexual abuse, abandonment, and exposure to violence, likely contributed to a distorted worldview with a particular hatred toward women, possibly stemming from his mother's abuse and profession. His choice of young, vulnerable victims suggests a need for control and power, compensating for his early powerlessness as he indulged in his sadistic fantasies. López's ability to evade capture across 3 countries reflects high cunning and adaptability, traits common in organized serial killers, amplifying the fear surrounding his unpredictable nature. His lack of remorse and chilling statements, such as expressing excitement at the prospect of killing again, underscore his profound detachment from moral norms, raising alarms about his potential for continued violence. His history of sexual trauma may have fueled his sexual violence, but it does not excuse his actions. Rather, it contextualizes the development of his predatory behavior and the systemic failures that allowed him to roam freely. In 1983, López was convicted of 110 murders in Ecuador and sentenced to 16 years, the maximum penalty under Ecuadorian law at the time, illustrating the shocking leniency he received for his horrific crimes. He served 14 years at Garcia Moreno prison near Quito, released early on August 31, 1994 for good behavior, a decision that sparked widespread outrage given the scale of his crimes. Deported to Colombia, he was detained as an illegal immigrant and charged with a 20-year-old murder, yet the cycle of violence seemed far from over as he eluded true justice once again. Declared insane, he was admitted to a psychiatric hospital in Bogotá in 1995, a troubling chapter that blurred the lines between justice and mental health care. In 1998, after a new evaluation deemed him sane, López was released on $50, $70 bail with conditions of periodic reporting and psychiatric treatment, which he promptly ignored, vanishing thereafter into the shadows. Reports suggest Interpol sought his rearrest in 2002 for a new murder, but his whereabouts remain unknown, leaving a chilling atmosphere of unresolved dread in the communities he once terrorized. The forensic and legal handling of López's case exposed significant systemic failures, illustrating how the lack of coordination between Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador allowed him to operate undetected for over a decade. The lenient sentencing in Ecuador and his release from a Colombian psychiatric facility highlight inadequate legal frameworks for addressing prolific serial killers, particularly in countries without the death penalty or life imprisonment at the time. The marginalization of his victims, often poor or indigenous, further delayed justice, as many disappearances went uninvestigated, revealing the deep societal flaws that contributed to their tragic fates. Since his release in 1998, López's whereabouts are unknown, fueling speculation about his fate, with some rumors suggesting he was killed by a hired assassin as a bounty was reportedly placed on him. If alive in 2025, he would be 76 years old, and his case remains a chilling example of how systemic neglect and legal leniency can enable prolific offenders to avoid accountability. The outrage following his release led Ecuador to increase its maximum prison sentence to 25 years in 1998, though too late to affect López's case, highlighting the crucial timing of justice reforms. López's crimes exposed vulnerabilities in South American justice systems and the societal neglect of marginalized communities, revealing a dark undercurrent that allowed his reign of terror to flourish. His ability to target street children and indigenous girls with impunity underscores the need for better protections and cross-border law enforcement cooperation as communities grapple with the lingering shadow of his atrocities. His case continues to haunt public consciousness, as reflected in posts on X, which describe him as one of history's most prolific serial killers and express ongoing fear about his unknown fate. While López confessed to over 300 murders, some experts suggest the number may be closer to 70, citing possible exaggeration that reflects a desire for infamy, a common trait among psychopathic killers. The confirmed 110 victims in Ecuador, supported by forensic evidence, are indisputable, but the lack of recovered bodies in Peru and Colombia limits verification of his broader claims, leaving many questions unanswered. His confessions, while detailed, may reflect a desire for infamy, as evidenced by the forensic evidence, primarily the 74 bodies recovered in Ecuador, which provides a grim but incomplete picture. The psychological evaluations, while identifying ASPD, failed to prevent his release, raising questions about the efficacy of psychiatric assessments in such cases where danger lurked beneath the surface. López's case challenges the narrative of justice prevailing, as his release after serving less than a month per confirmed murder underscores a profound failure in safeguarding society from such predators.